Hey you guys, I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. Now let's start. Chapter 21, I am not a doctor. If someone could look inside the house of the clan head of the Hyuga clan right now, they will be surprised to see a servant begging a kid with teary eyes while saying, "Kid, you better save him Awari-sama, otherwise we will both suffer from Hayashi-sama's wrath." Hey, I didn't force you to tell him, right? We just made a simple deal. Don't stick your fate with mine. I am sure you will be punished either way. I couldn't help but tease this nervous servant that accepted my bribe easily after I complimented him a little. As for the servant, he felt that he made the biggest mistake in his life making a deal with this little devil. And now he's just hoping that he can make it out of this situation alive. And just like that, a nervous teenager on the verge of a mental breakdown and a smiling 5-year-old kid made their way to the room containing the Hyuga trio. The moment we entered the room, Hayashi's facial expression kept changing from shock to despair to anger. As for Hinata, her hopeful face dimmed again after seeing that it was just a kid her age. Hayashi was expecting by an Uchiha kid. The servant meant one of the two famous geniuses of the Uchiha clan, Shisui and Itachi. With their great achievements they might truly make a miracle and save his wife, but now he can only see an unknown kid around his daughter's age smiling at him, making him angry beyond belief, so he directly activated his Byakugan and attacked the servant that caused this situation using the famous gentle fist of the Hyuga clan without even saying anything. Hinata screamed and the servant wasn't able to react at all and simply closed his eyes and waited for the pain or death that's heading towards him depending on how merciful Hayashi is at the moment, but he only heard a thud sound, but after a few seconds he felt nothing, so he opened his eyes and he was shocked at what he saw. Hayashi was holding his right palm in shock while staring at the little kid standing guard in front of the servant. The Uchiha gave birth to another monster, and this one is even more scary than the other two, Hayashi thought. What the servant didn't see is that the moment Hayashi initiated his attack, the kid beside him strengthened his body with chakra, jumped at the fist's height and intercepted it with a spinning kick all in one motion. And suddenly a sound broke the silence that fell on the room. "That's quite rude, Hyuga clan head. Is this how you treat a guest that came to help your wife?" The black-haired kid spoke. This time, Hayashi was shocked since he didn't think that a kid can withstand his attack even if it's not at full power, so he began to take the kid in front of him seriously and regained his calm and felt that this abnormally strong kid might really have a way to heal his wife, so he asked doubtfully, "I am sorry for my earlier behavior, but do you really have a way to heal my wife?" Hearing the question, Hinata looked at the kid in front of her hopefully and she heard him say, "I have an idea about your wife's illness, but I have to check on it personally to confirm my theory." Hayashi was disappointed a little, but he understood that what the kid said is logical. Unless he can see the future, it's impossible for him to know without diagnosing her first, so he gestured for him. "Please go ahead and check." I nodded at him and said to the servant with a smile, "You should leave for now," and Hayashi too nodded at him and he ran away again while sending me a grateful look. Inside I was thinking, sigh, even when I strengthened my body with chakra I could barely repel him. Fighting someone like Hayashi head-on is impossible for the current me, but that's just for a head-on confrontation. I quickly stood beside the sleeping Himawari and I could see her complexion was very pale, as if there's no blood circulating inside of her. I activated my 3-Tomo Sharingan, which shocked Hayashi, and I looked at him. "This is a secret," before I turned away to my patient. While Hinata looked at my eyes curiously. Hayashi felt a chill running down his spine, not from seeing the Sharingan, but from feeling something else, just like the time when he felt his brother's killing intent. This time he felt a dark emptiness radiating from the kid like a dark shadow ready to swallow him whole, so he simply nodded. Even though the Byakugan and the Sharingan are different dojutsu, they still have some similar abilities. One of them is seeing the chakra pathways. The Byakugan is way better at this since it gives a clearer vision, but gotta work with what you have. Himawari's body didn't seem to have any internal injuries, and the same with her chakra pathways, but what's weird is her body wasn't generating chakra anymore, and it seems like, if her final reserves are over, she's going to die. So I asked Hayashi, did something happen for her body to not generate chakra? Hayashi shook his head and said with a sad face, "No, Himawari's body was weak from the time she was a kid and always lacked in vitality. And one of the best medical nin that we brought said that bearing children caused her to exhaust her last reserves of vitality, which in turn caused her physical energy to weaken, and now she can't achieve a balance between physical and spiritual energies to produce chakra." I started thinking, vitality is truly a problem to restore since it's basically a person's life essence. Well, they can probably heal her if they transplant Hashirama's cells into her since they contain a huge amount of vitality, but good luck getting those from Danzo. As I was deep in thought, a shy voice suddenly distracted me and I felt something hold my shirt. As I looked at this crying little girl with my eyes back to normal, she said, "Are you going to save mommy?" I gave her a reassuring smile and patted her head. "Don't worry, I will save your mother, but I need to focus now." Hinata nodded her head cutely with a red face. Being a medical nin is to know how to stimulate the natural regenerative ability of the body by using healing chakra, but that consumes vitality, so using healing chakra on this woman is pointless, and what's needed to save her is direct life force transferring or to inject her with a chakra full of vitality, and just this won't be enough. For the second method to work, you first need a chakra full of vitality, and second you need to help transform it back to physical energy inside of the patient's body and help her reach a balance. So add too much and she will explode, add too little and you will cause the foreign energy that's not assimilated to be rejected and cause a bad reaction inside her weakened body, causing her death. And this is the reason why no one wants to take the risk, since if you mess up and kill the Hyaga's head's wife, you better say goodbye to your life. But that's only for normal people to worry about, I thought as I quickly opened the system panel and made a new save point with the name, I am not a doctor. Chapter 22, Pain and Awakening. After preparing a save just in case I mess up what I want to do, I faced Hayashi and said, "I can only think of 2 ways that can save her. Do you want to know them?" Hayashi and Hinata both looked excited that there's a way to save Himawari, but I quickly killed their hopes and said, "First listen to what I'm going to say before you get your hopes up." "You are right. Please tell us what solution you came up with," said Hayashi with a frown. "The first way is to transfer someone's life force directly to her. But to do that you need a special jutsu which I don't have and I don't think our whole village have." Hearing what I said, Hayashi's frown deepened, but he waited for me to explain the second way. "The second way, I am sure another medical nin already proposed it to you. It's to inject her with chakra that has the properties to increase vitality and help her restore the balance between her physical and spiritual energies. Of course the problem here is the rarity of such chakra and the huge requirement for chakra control, since any mistakes will cause the patient's death." Hearing my second solution looked helpless and said, "Indeed, one of the medical nin proposed it and explained its danger, but we couldn't even attempt it because we couldn't find someone with this kind of chakra that can restore vitality." Hinata looked sad when she heard our conversation and her eyes started tearing up again until she heard my next words. "Well, I just happen to have this kind of chakra, but the problem is I don't have enough control and experience as a medical nin, so I can't promise you anything." Hayashi looked at me with doubt, but hidden inside his eyes was pure excitement. "Do you really have such chakra?" Different from him, Hinata looked purely excited and seemed to believe me, so I decided to make a quick demonstration. "Give me your hand," I said as I took out a kunai. Hayashi quickly understood what I want to do, so he rolled up his sleeve and extended his hand, and I used the kunai to make a small cut, to the horror of Hinata, but soon it was gone when I extended my hand and red chakra came out of it just enough to cover the cut, and it quickly healed without leaving a single scar. Hayashi was delighted because he understood I didn't use any medical ninjutsu that stimulates the natural regeneration process of the body, and he even felt revitalized after that chakra entered his body. "Amazing, with this chakra we might really save Himawari." "Well, of course, idiot, if the Nine Tails chakra doesn't work, nothing will," I thought. "I got this chakra from Kurama, and Minato and Kushina helped seal it inside of my clone just for this purpose. So do you want to take the risk or not?" I said. Hayashi wasn't sure on what to do since the risk is too big, but a voice soon dispelled his hesitation. "Please save mommy." It was Hinata's voice. Looking at his daughter and knowing that his wife will only die if this continues, he said, "We are willing to take the risk. Please save my wife," as he bowed his head a little. I nodded at him and said, "I will do my best. But you should understand nothing is for free." He nodded back at me and said, "The Hyaga clan will make sure to repay the favor if you save her. It's good since you promised to involve all of your clan because you alone are worthless to me," I thought, but outwardly I only said, "Good, I will trust your words." I focused my attention back on the sleeping Himawari and activated my Sharingan again to check the situation of her chakra, and I could barely see anything because of how little there's left. I put my hand on her abdomen and started channeling a very small quantity of Kurama's chakra inside of her, and once I made contact with where her spiritual and physical energies connect, I started transforming it into physical energy and tried to merge it with what remained inside of her, but what I didn't expect is for the previously calm spiritual energy inside of her to rush at the energy I was controlling, but because the difference in ratios was so big, the foreign energy was instead pushed away, causing Himawari's body to start shaking. Seeing that the situation was going bad, I did my best to inject more chakra and regain the control I lost on the first one I injected, but this time I made a terrible mistake as I put too much, causing her shrank chakra channels to directly overload, and with a strong shake they exploded, causing Himawari to die. Mommy! Himawari! Two shrill voices filled with despair were heard at the same time. I stood there lost in the moment because, intended or not, I killed this woman, a woman that did me no harm. I expected this to happen, and I thought that knowing I can go back in time will make it easier for me to accept it, but looking at the desperation in Hayashi's eyes and the look in Hinata's eyes, it suddenly brought back some old memories I wanted to forget. It was the look of seeing your whole world collapsing, and I remember that day too, when I lost everything, including my heart, the day both my parents were killed in front of me. When I was just a kid and I couldn't do anything but hide. Looking at the current situation and seeing my younger self in Hinata's eye caused me to re-feel that terrible memory, a memory I could never forget. As I was lost in those memories, Hayashi in his anger and sadness jumped at me, my clone, and hit my clone with a strong palm strike, not intended to kill, but it was enough to dispel my clone. I received the memories and experience of this clone, and without me realizing it, the tomos of my Sharingan started to slowly transform into the shape of a triquetra. Picture in the chapter's comment. That terrible pain I felt caused me to awaken my main Jikyo Sharingan, and I instinctively understood the new abilities I got from it, abilities really fitting for me, ironically. At least something good came out of all of this, I thought, as my eyes reverted back to normal, and I thought back at how the devastated Hayashi looked at me with anger, causing me to feel a deep guilt. I slowly calmed myself down again and started remembering the process I went through and the mistakes I made while noting everything that happened, so next time I won't fail so miserably. Back at the Hyuga house, Hayashi kept grieving in sadness and anger at the kid that toyed with him with a clone, but it was his decision to try this, so he kept blaming himself even more. While Hinata simply cried non-stop while hugging her mother. After I finished sorting out my experience, I thought, the pain I feel in my heart is bad enough. I don't want to be a source of pain for others too, as I made a promise to myself to be more careful in the future. Feeling it was time, I opened the systems panel and chose to load to the save point with the name I didn't find funny anymore. I am not a doctor, and knowing that I was back in time, I felt at ease again, but now with different eyes. Chapter 23, Saving Himawari and Meddling in the Mission. Once the darkness faded away, I started seeing the situation in the room clearly again, and I sighed in relief, causing Hayashi and Hinata to look at me in surprise, because just an instant before I was saying I wanted to focus, and now I was sighing as if a huge burden was leaving my shoulders. I ignored the looks they gave me and I started explaining again the ways I figured out to save her life, and Hayashi agreed again in the end after hearing Hinata, so I turned my focus on the sleeping Himawari. Now, knowing how hard it is to both control the chakra and transform it to physical energy and then helping merge with her current physical and spiritual energy, I came with a simple but perfect solution. If 2 hands aren't enough, use 4, and if that's still not enough, use 6, I thought, and that's what I did as I quickly did a end-hand sing and used the shadow clone jutsu to make 2 more clones, to the shock of both Hayashi and Hinata, but they didn't say anything when they saw the focused look on all of the clones. I quickly pointed at one of the clones and said, "You will be responsible for transforming chakra into physical energy." Then I pointed at the second clone, "You will be responsible for injecting chakra and I will deal with manipulating the rest. Stay in sync with me and help if needed." They both nodded and all 3 activated Sharingan and put their hands on Himawari's abdomen before the first one started injecting Kurama's chakra at my signal. The second clone quickly started transforming it into physical energy, and because this time we injected the right amount, we weren't overwhelmed by the spiritual energy, nor was it too much to overload her shrunk chakra vessels. I tried my best to keep both energies balanced, and before long chakra started being generated again, this time chakra that contains some vitality, and it slowly started being absorbed by Himawari's body, restoring some of her lost vitality, and before long her pale complexion began to gain some color on it. Seeing that her body was functioning properly, I stopped helping in keeping the balance, since her body can do it automatically again, and I dispelled my clones. I turned to Hinata and Hayashi and smiled. It worked. Great. Amazing. They both said, with faces full of happiness and excitement as they rushed to Himawari's side and looked at her rosy complexion. "Thank you so much, I really don't know how to repay you," Hayashi said with a grateful look. "Thank you Nii-chan," Hinata said with a happy and shy look. "You are welcome, but this only helps her for a while, it's still a long way to cure her completely, so make sure she doesn't have any more kids until then," I said as I gave Hayashi a weird look. Of course we will make sure of that," responded Hayashi seriously to hide his embarrassment. "Well, she should wake up soon and I still have some things to do. Let's have a proper talk later," I said, intending to leave them some privacy. "Thank you, I will send for someone to contact you," said Hayashi, accepting my offer since he really wanted to have some time with his wife and daughters after all this pain he's been through. Leaving the Hyuga clan, I couldn't help but think family As my thoughts drifted to the family I left behind before this clone also dispelled, bringing with it all its memories to the real body. Next day I went to ask Fugaku about Shisui since I was worried that Danzo might act recklessly, but I was surprised at what he said. "He's not in the village." Itaki asked him for help to complete a mission. "So it's finally here, I thought as I started remembering something I read about in Itaka's life story, but I asked to confirm it. Oh, Itaka can't complete something with his current power. After all, Itaka was already at Jonin level at this age." Fugaku nodded. "According to what I know, it's an S-rank mission given by Danzo, but I don't know the details." "I see. I am sure those two together will be fine as long as they are not fighting a cage-level ninja," I said to reassure him. "I hope so," Fugaku sighed as he knows he can't keep holding his son's hand forever. "I am going to train with Naruto and Sasuke for a while. Call me if they come back," I said. "Sure," he responded, and I quickly flickered away while sending a clone to go with Sasuke and Naruto while my real body quickly arrived at a blind spot I always used to leave the village in. For the first time I left the village with my real body. If I am not wrong, Itaka was sent to assassinate Mukai Kohinata, a man who was previously in Umbu. But after one of his kids got ill, he started working as a double agent and leaked a lot of top-secret information to the village hidden in the mist, Kiri, for money to help treat his kid's illness. Eventually Danzo somehow found out and sent Itaka to eliminate him as a test, and he was allowed to choose only one helper, and Itaka chose Shisui. In the original story, once they find Mukai's meeting with Kirinin, they quickly dealt with those ninja, but when it came to fighting Mukai, both Shisui and Itaka were outclassed and he simply manhandled them with his superior taijutsu skill, losing only because he didn't expect Shisui's terrifying Mangekyo Sharingan, causing him to fall under possibly the strongest genjutsu, Koda Amatsukami dash. Because Mukai left a trigger in his body to commit suicide if he falls under a genjutsu, he ended up killing himself before Shisui could completely control him with his ability. Once I sorted all the information I have on the man, I used my strong senses to track Itaka's smell and traces, and I quickly started following them. I need to hurry up, otherwise I won't arrive in time, I thought as I sped up as much as possible. 3 hours later, as I was jumping from tree to tree, I finally heard some fighting sounds and I quickly went in that direction and was just in time to see Mukai immobilizing Itaka using the Hyuga's gentle fist jutsu, and Shisui was rushing from behind Mukai to save Itaka. Just in time, I thought, as just moments after this in the original, Mukai will grab Shisui by the neck and strangle him, and Shisui would retaliate with his Mangekyo Sharingan's ability, Koda Amatsukami. As Mukai was about to catch Shisui, I quickly started using hand seals and sent a great fireball jutsu at him, which he split with his high mastery of gentle fist, but it was only for a distraction for Shisui to retreat as I landed beside the immobilized Itaka and picked him up. Itaka was shocked by my presence, and Shisui was the same because even though we never met before, he still knew of me from Itaka. "Yo Itaka, I never thought I will see you like this," I said to the shocked Itaka with a grin while carrying him on my back. Mukai looked at this weird development with a frown and felt he really needs a cigarette and drink to help go through this day. Chapter 24, Needed Talk. Itaka finally regained his calm, but before he could say anything, Mukai started speaking in annoyance. "What's a kid doing here now?" Before I replied, I went to Shisui and gave him Itaka while saying, "Don't use that for now," causing Shisui's eyes to shrink, and Itaka didn't miss this change. After I finished with this, I looked at Mukai and approached him with a smile. "Hi Mukai, I heard a lot about you." Mukai looked at this kid that doesn't seem afraid of him, and it reminded him of his little kids that he knows he can't meet anymore, making him sigh, and said, "Kid, are you trying to buy time for Itaka to recover?" "Oh, what a careful man," I thought as I looked at Shisui trying to help Itaka recover quickly from his chakra pathways. Getting blocked, and I simply shook my head. No, today you were destined to die, and you should understand with your family in Konoha they will definitely be used against you mercilessly with someone like Danzo there even if you survived Itaki and Shisui's assassination. Mukai took out a cigarette, put it on his mouth and lit it up. As he exhaled the smoke he sighed while thinking about his situation. This kid doesn't seem to be lying, so if he's not trying to buy time, that means what he said to that kid Shisui about not using it is probably true and my life was in danger, and from the surprise they both showed it seems he's specifically here for me and doesn't seem to be worried about these two. Sigh. Mukai quickly finished his thoughts with another sigh and said, so what do you want from me? Relax, I am here to help you, I said, and someone quickly interjected. Bakurayo, do you understand what you are doing? Helping a traitor is the same as betraying the village, Itaka said. I looked at him the same you would look at an idiot, a look very unfamiliar to him since he's always considered a genius. I heard a lot from your father, but seeing the real thing is really amusing. Shisui simply kept looking at me warily after I revealed his secret, and Itaka said, were you sent here by father? Stop trying to gather information, and for your knowledge you said Mukai was a traitor and need to be killed, right? Yes. He's endangering the world and the information he leaked might cause a new war, Itaki replied seriously. I see, this is what Danzo told you, right? I said. Itaka's eyes flickered a little before he nodded. Let me then explain to your stupid mind how the reality of this corrupted village works. Want to hear it, or do you want to stick to your close-minded view? I said to him with a cold look. A look reminding him of his father's eyes, making Itaki irritated, but this time Shisui was the one that replied, if what you are going to say doesn't convince us, we will have to report you to the village, he said calmly, while ready at any moment to use his main Jikyoshari non. This is a question to both of you and I hope you don't answer it naively. As a member of Umbu and knowing how strong some of the members are like Mukai, why do you think Orochimaru can escape from the village after he was caught doing human experiments using kidnapped people from the village? I said with a smile. They both pondered for a bit, and Itaki, remembering Orochimaru's cunning gaze, said, Orochimaru probably prepared an escape route beforehand, and Shisui nodded in agreement and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I turned to Mukai observing us and said, he, Mukai, you wouldn't mind leaking more secrets, right? He looked at me with a bottle of wine now in his hand and said, what do you want? You were trusted a lot by Hiruzen, so you should know what happened. Please tell these two idiots what happened the day of Orochimaru's escape, I said with a grin, and we all waited for his answer. Well, it's quite simple. He fought the Hokage and lost, but because he was his student he couldn't punish him and let him leave in the end, although with some injuries, said Mukai indifferently and took a swig from his wine. Both Itaki and Shisui couldn't bring themselves to believe this because human experimentation with one's fellow villagers is one of, if not the most heinous crimes anyone can commit. They struggled to believe the Hokage can act like this and allow someone like this to leave just because he's his student, but I said with a shrug, it's the truth. He acts this way with all his students and friends, the same way no one punished Tsunade for not coming to help the village during the Nine Tails incident, or for all the terrible things Danzo did. Because they were close to him no one punished them. Although Tsunade and the Senju clan were terribly wronged by the village and she barely earned this privilege after she lost everything, this is the reality. What's your answer? You two love peace and you want to bring peace so badly even at the price of ignoring the humiliation and the struggle your clan is going through, I said coldly at both of them. These are just the words of a traitor and a kid with unknown motives. We have no reason to believe what you say, Shisui said, trying to convince himself while Itaka was struggling to settle the raging feelings in his heart. Was I only foolishly dreaming for peace? Itaka thought, and this idea kept burning in his heart. Stop being in denial, Shisui. This world isn't just rainbows and sunshine. And Itaka, I can see that you are questioning your belief, right? Itaka looked at me shocked that I can see through him. How did yo dash? I cut him off. Yes, I can see through you quite easily. Your dream for peace isn't wrong. I actually like it. What I don't like is the way you are trying to do it, Itaka said with doubt. What do you mean? I sighed and approached Mukai, causing him to raise his vigilance, but I simply extended my hand for his jug of wine, which he retrieved away and said seriously, no drinking for kids. Itaki and Shisui looked at my interaction with their deadly enemy speechlessly. TCH, anyways, Itaki, you should understand that everything comes with a price, and the price tag for peace is very high. You turn a blind eye at the mistreatment the clan is suffering because you want peace, and you even started hating your father because he started getting fed up with this situation and might start fighting back soon. Unfortunately, what you don't understand is even if the Uchiha clan doesn't retaliate at all, those elders ruling the village won't leave it alone, and sooner or later will find a way to antagonize us more. I explained to him as clear as possible. But if the situation continue like this, peace will be broken and many lives will be lost, Itaka said with anguish in his voice, remembering a scene from his childhood when his father took him to the battlefield with piles of dead bodies everywhere during the Third Great Ninja War. Chapter 25, Recruiting Mukai. Itaka couldn't help but remember the reason he yearned for peace. The day his father took him to the battlefield of the Third Great Ninja War when he was 4 years old, and he tried to help an injured ninja from the Hidden Stone Village, IWA, but what awaited him wasn't appreciation like he expected, rather that ninja attempted to kill him and was only saved thanks to Fugaku keeping an eye on him. From that day on, Itaki had a very strong desire to bring peace so that cruel scene doesn't repeat itself. Yes, the peace might be broken, but the one who needs to pay the price to regain it is the perpetrator, not the victim, and in this case the Uchiha clan is the victim and they do not deserve to be sacrificed because of someone else's whims. I said, this time with killing intent radiating from me. Go back and rethink what you are doing and don't worry about the clan, since I made a new plan with Fugaku to try solving it peacefully. Ask him for the details. Itaka looked surprised at this since he knew it was hard to change his father's mind. Yes, it's true, go back now, I have something to talk about with Mukai and just say you failed to kill him, I said again before he could reply. And so they both nodded at me and Shisui said, we will talk again at the clan's shrine, before he gave one last look at Mukai and left with the still not recovered Itaki. I sighed at how foolish these kids are and turned to look at Mukai. You are going to let them leave like this without doing anything? Mukai drank a mouthful of wine and said indifferently, the question you need to worry about is if you will leave alive like them or not. I chuckled at him, of course I will leave in one piece. Oh, what makes you so sure? Mukai said as his left eye quickly turned colorless and the veins tightened and emerged from under his face. It was the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, Mukai Kohinata, a member from a family that split off from the Hyuga clan several generations ago. Who would have thought you would still gain the Byakugan with your diluted bloodline? I said, unbothered by his useless attempt at intimidating me, before I continued saying with confidence, as for why you can't kill me, I have deal you can't deny. Seeing that the kid in front of him wasn't intimidated at all by his aura, Mukai sighed while deactivated his Byakugan and said, I am all ears, but if I don't like it you should hope your parents won't miss you since you won't be going back. For some reason I remembered my real parents again, making me sigh. Don't worry, they won't, I said, and Mukai seemed surprised at this response and understood its meaning quickly but didn't say anything and waited for me to continue. I want you to work for me. In exchange I will make sure nothing happens to your family back in Konoha, including your ill kid, I said seriously. Mukai lost his indifferent expression with his family mentioned because he was really worried about what would happen to them. And how can I believe you can do this? After all, you yourself said that Danzo might use them to draw me into a trap. The same way I can't be sure that you won't betray me. It's a gamble we are both taking and I have already paid a lot in it by exposing myself to Itaki and Shisui, so make your choice, I said indifferently. Mukai fell deep in thought, but no matter how he thinks about it, this is the only chance he has on protecting his family and ensuring his son's survival. Thinking about his son, he couldn't help but see his image in his head struggling in the hospital with no one to pay the bills for the expensive medicine, and it made his heart ache. I betrayed Konoha for my son. Following this kid is nothing if I can save my family, Mukai thought and made his decision. I accept, but I want a guarantee that you will keep your promise, said seriously. I shook my head and said I can't give you a guarantee, especially since for now I want you to do some work outside the village, but you can send a clone to check on them whenever you want as long as it doesn't affect your performance. Fine, but if something happens to them you will be my first target, said Mukai with a terrifying glint in his eyes. Don't worry, I won't break a promise lightly. Now for what I want you to do. First, I want you to find Tsunade Senjo. This might even benefit you since she might be capable of curing your son. Second, I want you to make contact with the Sakegamai merchant group, I said. Mukai was glad about the first mission since it was one of his goals, but previously he didn't have time between his duties and working as a double agent, so he couldn't go search for her. As for the second mission, he was doubtful, and so he asked, "Aren't the Sakegami merchant group close to your Uchiha clan? Why do you want to make contact with them like this?" I looked at him coldly. "You don't need to know the reason, just escort my clone and he will deal with everything." Mukai replied okay and didn't ask more. As a professional he knows not to delve too deep in things and just execute. "Take this device and use it to contact me if you need anything and I will do the same," I said, and gave him a device in the shape of an earring made recently by a collaboration between me, Minato, and Kushina. This device was filled with seals and works as a two-way radio. I asked Minato and Kushina to help me make it after I explained to them how frequencies work. The hardest part was to replicate the effect of modulating and demodulating frequencies so they can be sent to long distances, but we were capable of achieving it in the end. We also built devices that work as signal transmitters to widen the range of the communication, and I will leave them to the clone that's going to accompany Mukai to plant them in various hidden places along their travels to build a huge network. Mukai inspected the device for a while for any hidden traps since he still doesn't trust me. Before he tested it, it was simple to use, just pour chakra into it while saying what you want to say, and so he said, "Does this really works?" At the same time another similar device I was holding started shaking, and after I injected some chakra into it Mukai's voice came out slightly different but still clearly audible. "Does this really works?" Mukai couldn't keep his amazement from showing. Since if he had this device he wouldn't need to meet with those Kirinin to relay information, and it would be possible that Konoha will never know about his betrayal. I broke him out of his daze by summoning a shadow clone, already knowing what his mission is, so he nodded at Mukai and started leaving with him while I thought about the long 3H trip waiting for me back home. "Let's see if you pass this test, Itachi. Will you betray the little trust one put on you, or will you keep what happened today a secret? The way I deal with you will depend on this," I thought. That's right, this is a test to see if it's worth it to invest in Itachi or not. Having a talented person is good, but if he's going to be your enemy it's better to deal with him before he grows any stronger. Hopefully you and Shisui will use your heads correctly this time and stop acting childish, I thought as I quickly traveled back to Konoha. Chapter 26, Urgent Clan Meeting. As I was returning to Konoha, Itachi and Shisui were also going back in the path few minutes ahead of me, and they are currently questioning what I told them. "I never thought that a kid could be so scary," Shisui joked with the silent Itachi beside him to lighten the mood as they ran through the plains. "Indeed, he hid his abilities very well, and it's weird how he knows a lot of secrets," replied Itachi as he looked directly at Shisui. Shisui sighed. "I know what you mean, but I can't tell you right now. Honestly, it's better if you never have to find out. And you are right, if all what he said is true, it seems like we need to rethink our actions. We have been far too naive and trusting in the Hokage," Itachi sadly replied. "Yes, if everyone works for their benefits and doesn't apply punishment on the people close to them when they do wrong, this village will be ruined even without the conflict with our clan. I wonder if what he said about planning something to bring peace with Fugaku-san and solve the situation in the villages true or not," Shisui said to lift Itachi's mood, and it worked because the haze that was covering Itachi's heart faded a little. "I am looking forward to find out. I hope it's true, but either way, it won't change the question that's troubling me. What will we do if the conflict is inevitable? Will we side with the clan or the village?" Itachi asked, hoping he will get an answer from his closest friend. Shisui smiled in a reassuring manner and said, "If our dream of keeping peace in the village is impossible, we just have to make sure we bring it back when it's lost. After all, together, I believe we can do anything." Itachi kept repeating those words in his mind. "If we lose it, just bring it back," and the haze in his heart was completely dispelled and he smiled brightly at Shisui. "Thanks." And their journey continued unknown of the undercurrents causing many changes in the village. Back at Konoha, I arrived in front of the Uchiha clan entrance and I sensed that the surveillance increased all around, making me frown a little. Originally, under the accusations that the Uchiha clan caused the Nine Tails incident, Danzo ordered for all the Uchiha to be grouped at the outskirts of the village to make it easy to keep them under watch, but they only spied on the main entrance of the clan. Now, however, I can feel that the range of their spying increased a lot. As I entered, I can see that most of the faces of the Uchiha ninja and even some civilians weren't looking that well, probably because of what I just noticed, so I went directly to Fugaku's house to ask for the reason while thinking, the story is changing. But I didn't find him there. Itaka wasn't here either, probably reporting his failed mission, and even Sasuke wasn't here, so I asked Mikoto, the only person available, which I noticed was worried about something concerning me and seemed like she wants to tell me but hesitated. "Mikoto-san, where's Fugaku-san and Sasuke?" Mikoto heaved a sigh of relief when I gave her something to talk about, so she smiled and said, "It's 3:50 p.m. right now and there's an urgent clan meeting that will happen at 4 at the Naka Shrine, and Fugaku took Sasuke there with him." "Oh, is the situation this bad? I wish I didn't dispel the clone that was with Sasuke and Naruto," I thought. As for Mikoto, she seemed to hesitate a little, but she said in the end Fugaku wanted to take you to the meeting too, but when he didn't find you he went ahead with Sasuke alone. "I see, thank you for telling me, then I will be going there to see what's going on." And I stopped and looked at her with a smile. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Mikoto was dazed a little. Looking at the kid that was trying to comfort her, she felt warm inside her heart, so she squeezed his cheeks and said with a smile, "Make sure to come have dinner with us later." "Sure," I said as I ran away, making her laugh and her heavy heart to lighten a little. As I left the house my expression froze and I walked directly in the direction of the shrine, which won't take long. As I arrived there, no one obstructed me and they seemed to be looking at me with complicated looks in their eyes. Usually, only genin and above attend clan meetings. There's no exception, I know of that. This applied to Itaki even with all his talent. He was only allowed, forced by Fugaku, to attend after he became a genin, so for Sasuke to be brought here means it's something related to him. Was it because of me or Naruto? I thought quickly as I entered the Naka Shrine. The moment I was inside the shrine's main hall, everyone looked at me, including Fugaku and the two people beside him whom I believe are his assistants and high-ranking members of the Uchiha police force. On the left was Yoshiro Uchiha. He was a man with ash-gray hair and squinted eyes, while on the right was seated Inabi Uchiha. He has shoulder-length black hair and dark eyes. I didn't care about these gazes and saw that Sasuke was sitting on the front row, so I directly went and sat beside him, and my frozen face finally melted a little when I saw Sasuke's happy look. "You are finally here," Sasuke said before he got a stern look from Fugaku to shut up. I patted the now sad Sasuke and signaled to him that we will talk later before I turned back to Fugaku, and my face froze again as I simply said, "What happened?" "Kid, who do you think you are talking to?" Yoshiro said, trying to suck up to Fugaku, but it only caused my eyes to turn a shade colder. "Talk to me like this again and you will lose your head," I said as killing intent started oozing out of my body and my eyes quickly turned into 3 Tomo Sharinon. Of course I wasn't angry, but it's better to establish your position from the start with people like this or they will keep bullying you the next time they see you, and this guy really deserved to die. Everyone was surprised at my Sharinon but didn't think too much of it since there's another case of someone else awakening it at the age of 5. She was Izumi Uchiha, Itaka's girlfriend, but they were shocked at the amount of killing intent I was releasing. As Yoshiro tried to retort, "What did yo dash?" but Fugaku quickly cut him off. "Enough. Yashiro, you too Bukuryo." I gave that man one last look before my eyes turned back to normal and I asked Fugaku again a very simple question: "What happened?" I noticed someone in the crowd looking at me curiously, but I didn't look at him. "Shisui is here, huh?" I thought. "I will explain once Itaka comes. I already notified someone to invite him here and he should be done with reporting his mission," Fugaku said as he looked at me weirdly when he said the last part. "Oh, they told you? That's good," I thought as I gestured for him secretly that I got the message, and just at this moment Itaki entered with the person sent to invite him here. Chapter 27, Fed Up with Unfairness. The moment Itaki entered, he quickly noticed me sitting beside Sasuke at the front row and also noticed the nasty look Yashiro was giving me, causing a frown to appear on his face, but he didn't say anything and simply took a seat at the back. Seeing that everyone was here, Fugaku started speaking with his always stoic face distorted in anger. "I am sure a lot of people are wondering why the village increased the surveillance around our compound." He paused for a moment, looking that everyone was at full attention, with most having faces filled with anger, before he continued, "As you all know, I recently proposed to the village elders to allow us to accept other clans into the Uchiha police force. This would be beneficial to those clans since this is a prestigious work, and we can mend our relation with the village by getting in close terms with other clans, but those rotten elders directly refused and said that they can't allow such a thing and made the excuse that it would dishonor the second Hokage because he bestowed the task of protecting the civilians specifically to us." Everyone looked at this in disbelief since the village isn't willing to trust them one bit. not even give them a chance to prove their innocence, and this hit especially hard at Shisui and Itake's hearts because just when they got back they heard about Fugaku's plan to try to mend this broken relationship one last time, yet the village was adamant on rejecting him. Earlier before I got back, Itake and Shisui directly went to search for Fugaku and noticed the increased surveillance along the way, causing them to frown, but they ignored it for now. Father, I heard that you are trying to make peace with the village, is that true? Itake asked, excited. Fugaku looked at him in surprise before he asked him doubtfully, who told you this? Itake went silent, feeling that it was a lie, but Shisui didn't lose hope quickly and said, we met Bukarayo during Itake's mission and he told us about it. He also ruined Itake's mission by saving the traitor for some reason. Fugaku just nodded at the first half of what Shisui said but looked surprised at what he said in the end. So Bukarayo told you, huh? Yes, it's true. He suggested that we accept other clans inside our police force and raise our reputation in the village even more through some businesses he created, but Fugaku's face turned full of anger with bloodlust oozing out of his body. But those elders, including Hiruzen, used every reason they could find and rejected my offer. They even went as far as making a big deal of your brother's friendship with the Jinchuriki and accused us again of attempting to betray the village. Both Itake and Shisui became angry at this, since they knew that the last chance for the situation to be solved peacefully was crushed by the village before they heard Fugaku continue saying, they already started taking actions against us by increasing the surveillance around the clan and ordering for the death of any member of our clan that gets close to the Jinchuriki. Fugaku quickly calmed down and said to Itake seriously, Itake, I need you to keep an eye on the village. Go report your mission for now and don't worry about Bukarayo, he can be trusted. Itake said, yes, before he turned to leave and heard his friend saying, I have something to talk to you about. Fugaku-san. Fugaku nodded at him and they had a private conversation which shocked him. Back at the shrine, Fugaku continued with even more anger. Never mind this, some of you might not know this, but Bukarayo and Sasuke here both got close to Naruto Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. But just because they became friends with him, the elders didn't like it, and now they accused us of possibly trying to manipulate the Jinchuriki, which is in no way true, but they used it as a reason to attack Bukarayo's business, and now they forcefully closed his shop, and even the other shops that were about to open are denied permission, and they gave an order that any Uchiha that gets close to the Jinchuriki will be executed. As everyone in the room listened to what Fugaku said, they couldn't help but look at him in disbelief at the absurdity of the elders' views of their clan, which turned to anger at this blatant disrespect, which turned to rage at the treatment they are receiving, which turned to wrath when hearing that even their kids can't escape this cursed life. Everyone in the crowd that unlocked the Sharingan found them activating on their own, and their vision turning red, including Itake, since now his precious little brother was one of the people mistreated, and a huge commotion broke out. Fugaku looked at everyone's expression. Most people were wrathful and some were even releasing their killing intent wildly. When he saw Itake's face, he felt glad that his son can finally see the terrible reality of their clan. As the saying goes, only the one burned by the flame will know how painful it is. Fugaku continued observing the crowd before his eyes ended at the kid sitting beside his son Sasuke. Throughout his speech, he kept observing him, and he gave him even more attention after he heard about his weirdness from Itake and Shisui. True to his expectations, the kid that seemed easily provoked by his subordinate Yashiro didn't show any reaction, even though he was greatly implicated, not even activating the Sharingan he showed to possess. Just what are you thinking? Fugaku thought before he gestured for the crowd to be quiet and continued, Itake, did the Hokage tell you anything when you met him? Itake calmed down and stood up from his seat. No, but Danzo ordered me to keep an eye on the clan in case you try to do something. They especially asked me to keep an eye on Bukarayo, saying he's the cause of all of this. Different from how Itake used to be in the original, getting angry at his clan's distrust towards the village. This time he truly followed Fugaku's orders to work as a double agent for the clan and reported everything the village elders said to him when he went to report his failed mission. Sigh, in the end, I am no different than Mukai. Itake thought and couldn't help but remember the talented man that only wanted to save his kid. Meanwhile, many people in the crowd who already knew about me getting close to Naruto started whispering with the people that just heard about it. Do you think Fugaku-sama ordered him to approach the Jinchuriki? Uchiha 1 whispered to Uchiha 2 beside him. I don't think so. After all, he's been trying to fix the relationship with the village, not ruin it, Uchiha 2 answered. Everyone in the clan knows we can't approach the Jinchuriki carelessly or it will increase the suspicions around us, Uchiha 3 spoke from behind them. TCH, just because of one kid our situation worsened, he should be punished, Uchiha 4 spoke with an angry face. Slowly the whispers turned into conversation, and these conversations turned into complaints which I could hear very clearly without relying on my superior senses. Enough, if it was a kid from another clan that approached the Jinchuriki, nothing like this would have happened. They keep humiliating our Uchiha clan and they won't even give us a chance to prove we are innocent. Today the Uchiha won't bow their heads to their tyranny anymore, Fugaku said with some anger before he yelled, "Who's with me?" Everyone cheered as a sea of red eyes lit up the dim shrine, with only Shisui and Itaki having set faces. Chapter 28, Dealing with a Coward. Good, replied Fugaku, calming everyone down. Today we will start preparing for a coup d'etat. Anyone disagrees? No, a united yell echoed before two voices said at the same time, yes, Fugaku-san/father. They belonged to Itaki and Shisui, causing everyone to look at them in anger. Shisui quickly stepped beside Itaki and the latter quickly said, "Father, please reconsider. If we start a revolution, many innocent lives will be lost," and Shisui nodded in agreement, showing his support. But Fugaku calmly shook his head. "I am not planning to harm the civilians, but the situation is simply beyond solving at this moment. Either we fight or they will come asking for our lives next." Bulletin dash, Itaka tried to say, but Fugaku cut him off. "Enough, Itaka, just do your job and relay any information you hear from the elders," causing Itaka to clench his fists and nod reluctantly. Sasuke looked at his father and brother arguing and felt scared at how the situation escalated. Not knowing what to do, he looked at me. I patted his head and said, "Don't worry," before I locked eyes with Fugaku and said, "Fugaku-san, I wouldn't mind it if this was 100% your idea, but unfortunately, a little bird kept telling me that someone is pushing you a lot in this direction because he's afraid to bear the responsibility for it himself." Fugaku was perplexed, but I quickly turned to the man that likes to scream a lot. "Yashiro, care to explain why you keep suggesting a coup d'etat every time and never going for a bloodless solution?" The man in question looked at me in shock because this is something only his captain Fugaku and the other high-ranking officials knows. "Let's see how close you are with your masked friend," I thought as I looked coldly at Yashiro. Yashiro became shocked when he saw the huge responsibility of the clan rebelling being tied to him, which was true since he always tries to manipulate Fugaku to initiate a rebellion. Since Fugaku was present, he can't lie, so he quickly said, full of courage and pride, "My heart is burning from all the suffering our clan is going through. That's why I rather die than live in humiliation like this, so I suggested we rebel." Many people in the crowd nodded at his words because they felt the same thing, but what they didn't know is Yashiro is probably the biggest coward in the Uchiha clan and maybe the entirety of Konoha. This was such a coward to the point that when Itaki in the original story started the Uchiha massacre, he killed Yashiro's wife and kids in front of him, yet Yashiro only fled to save his life and left them behind. And when Itaka caught up to him, he revealed that his masked friend will get revenge for him, but was disappointed when Itaka told him that his masked friend was helping him in the massacre. Indeed, that masked man was Obito Uchiha. He manipulated Yashiro, which in turn manipulated Fugaku and the rest of the clan to start the coup d'etat. When Yashiro understood that he was betrayed, he started begging Itaka to leave him alive, promising that he will end the rebellion, but he only got his head severed by Itaki as an answer, causing to meet his end. Now this coward is speaking with a face full of pride and courage, almost making puke at the level of hypocrisy. So I quickly said, "I see, how noble of you. How about you explain to us then about the masked man that promised you with his help and gave you the intel you used to entice Fugaku to make this decision." This time Yashiro wasn't shocked but horrified instead when he heard the kid revealing his involvement with the masked man. "How does he know about my relation with the masked man? I am sure we left no traces of our meetings with that man's weird teleporting ability," Yashiro thought as his fear increased when he saw everyone looking at him, especially Itaka. Itaka, getting used to Bakurio's weird information, didn't like the mention of a masked man, so he asked, "Bakurio, what do you mean by a masked man?" I pretended to be surprised at his question and said, "Oh, I forgot you met him before, but your guess is correct. It's the same man that caused you to awaken your Sharinans." Itaka, hearing this, started looking at Yashiro like a hawk stalking its prey. The nervous Yashiro quickly regained his cool, but his weird reaction didn't go unnoticed by many people, including Fugaku, Shisui, Inabi, and Tekka. Tekka had shoulder-length, dull black hair and dark eyes, and also had a dot in the center of his forehead, and he was considered the strongest Uchiha after Fugaku, considering Shisui doesn't use his main Jikyoshari non. As Yashiro calmed down, he said with anger, I don't know what you are talking about. Oh really? I couldn't help but smile before I called out someone Shisui. Yes. Shisui replied while looking at me curiously. Go with Yashiro and Fugaku-san and confirm if what I said is true or not please, it's important, I said. Okay, seeing that my goal is stop the coup d'etat, Shisui gladly agreed and didn't doubt that I understood what his secret is anymore. Fugaku also didn't question this decision after he saw Yasir's reaction and understanding what Shisui's ability is after they had their conversation earlier, so he ordered with a cold look, Yashiro, Shisui, follow me to the adjacent room. No one liked to be manipulated, so Fugaku was really angry and gave Yashiro a look that he wasn't accepting no as an answer, and so they quickly entered a room on their own where Shisui's Kota Amatsukami will do its magic. Meanwhile, the rest of the crowd was agitated at this sequence of events, finding the situation weird, but Tekka stepped up and said, I am sure the captain knows what he's doing, trust him, while giving me a weird look, and they calmed down because they respected him. I felt an intense gaze on my back and I found that it was Ataka giving me grateful look for helping solve this mess, and I nodded at him with a smile, while thinking how should I solve this mess. Just a few minutes after, Fugaku and Shisui returned with dark looks on their faces and an unconscious Yashiro, probably still under the effect of Kota Amatsukami. Fugaku quickly returned to his position and bowed to everyone, shocking them. Everyone, I am sorry, as your leader, I allowed someone with ulterior motives manipulate me, but they quickly tried to deny it and said that he was an amazing leader and doesn't need to apologize since he always thinks about what's best for the clan. Only then did Fugaku rise from his bow and looked straight at me. Bakurayo, thank you for finding out about Yashiro involvement with this masked man, but even he didn't know much about him and his motive. If you know anything about it, please explain it to us, Fugaku said. That's a very dangerous man, I said to him. After all, he single-handedly caused the Nine Tails incident and the death of the fourth Hokage and his wife. Everyone was shocked at this information before I continued with a heartless smile, sending shivers down everyone's spine. Do you think he cares about helping our clan? Chapter 29, Meetings and Disappointment. Looking at everyone's shocked faces, I couldn't help but shake my head at how emotional the Uchiha are, even though they hide it behind a cold facade most of the time. Impossible. Are you saying that the incident 5 years ago was man-made and the one behind it tried to manipulate Yashiro? Fugaku said in both shock and anger, a terrible anger that started building inside his chest the moment the council rejected his good intentions. Then his anger increased even more once he knew how Yashiro was trying to manipulate him, not knowing that he himself was merely a puppet. This is the truth. I don't know much about this masked man, but I know that we shouldn't involve ourselves with him too much, I said. Before I continued, Fugaku-san, I know you are angry, but even if we get our hands on the Nine Tails, it still won't be enough to deal with village, and we will only sacrifice many people pointlessly. Fugaku sighed and said, I know this, but we have no other choice. We can relocate outside the village, I said, causing Fugaku to shake his head along with everyone else. If we leave the village, we will become the target of all the other villages, the same way the Uzumaki clan was targeted, and even Konoha might target us and won't just sit on the sidelines the way they did to the Uzumaki clan. Not to mention we originated from this shrine, we can't leave our home just like that. I thought for a little before I said I have a plan. Inside the Hokage Tower, the various clan heads were having an urgent meeting issued by Fugaku Uchiha. They were sitting in a long table at the head of which was sitting the third Hokage, and close to him were the old fossils Danzo, Homura Mito and Koharu Yudin, along with the rest of the heads of the different clans. Everyone was currently looking at the kid standing behind Fugaku with a friendly smile on his face, nodding at people from time to time when he catch them looking at him. Of course that kid was me, and as everyone sat down we heard Danzo say with his usual cold voice and darkness in his eyes, what's the meaning of this meeting, Fugaku? Fugaku looked at him coldly with no more pretenses because he was really ready to kill him right here right now, but a small hand holding his shirt calmed him down. His time will come very soon, thought Fugaku while looking at Danzo. Indeed, he was really angry when Bakurayo told him that under all those bandages on Danzo's hand and eye were Sharinans from his clan, but currently he only has 2 in his hand because the Uchiha massacre didn't happen yet, but he's pushing for it real hard. Didn't you just accuse my clan of trying to manipulate the Jinchuriki using Bakurayo here behind me? Well, I came to prove our innocence once and for all since I can, Fugaku said coldly while looking at the Hokage and the 3 council members beside him. Danzo snorted and continued, we don't need proof, we can already see the hatred in your eyes towards the village. Many people frowned at how Danzo isn't even trying to give Fugaku a chance, but this time Fugaku wasn't going to step down even if war starts, and they were ready for that possibility too. Hiruzen, are you going to listen to what the Uchiha clan has to say, or you will just keep accusing us however you see fit and we can't even feel anger for it? Show some respect, Fugaku. The only women from the council, Koharu, snarled at Fugaku for calling the Hokage by his name directly. Shut your mouth, said Fugaku as his killing intent erupted at her, causing her to shake on fear. This is wicked eye Fugaku, everyone thought, in awe of his aura. Us many Umbu surrounded us. Enough Danzo, Koharu. You too, Fugaku, calm down, I understand your frustrations. If the Uchiha really have proof like you said, we will gladly hear it, as Fugaku retracted his killing intent and the Umbu retreated, leaving only Danzo and Koharu glaring at him. It's simple, bring Naruto here, Fugaku said. Humph, you think we will allow you near the Jinchuriki, said Danzo. I didn't talk to you, I am talking to Hiruzen, or did you become the Hokage without everyone here knowing? Fugaku retorted. Danzo was angry because Fugaku really hit his soft spot, since because he couldn't become the Hokage, he always tried to act as one but Hiruzen raised his hand and cut him off, causing his anger to raise, but it wasn't apparent on his face, but his eyes were different as the darkness inside of them became deeper. Will you really be able to prove your innocence if we bring Naruto here? Said Hiruzen seriously. Yes, said Fugaku, and Hiruzen quickly ordered Kakashi to bring Naruto over. Fugaku crossed his hands and closed his eyes and waited for the scene that's about to happen, which he still feel doubtful about, but still decided to trust the mysterious kid. Very quickly Naruto was brought in and we felt the guard around us increased, and Danzo said mockingly, prove your innocence now. This time Fugaku didn't speak, but I did. Yo, Naruto, how have you been? When Naruto noticed me in the room, he quickly tried to come towards me, but an Umbu member held him back. No matter how much he struggled, he wasn't released, so I said with a confident smile, Naruto, calm down. We will talk later. Naruto nodded, believing what I said, but the people in the room thought otherwise, but I didn't care. I finally looked at the council members. This time, with only coldness in my face different with my previous friendly smile, and said, Hokage, you asked us for proof of our innocence while you didn't provide any behind your accusations. You said I tried to manipulate Naruto. Go enter his seal space, you will understand a lot. You aren't allowed to leak this information in front of the Jinchuriki. Danzo yelled, but I didn't even glance at him and only looked at Hiruzen. What cold eyes! Hiruzen thought before he heard. Quickly check it, you will get your answers. Fine, said Hiruzen as he got close to Naruto and poured some chakra into the seal, and when he did he was shocked at the scene in front of him and felt terrible guilt. He saw a very familiar couple looking at him with disappointed looks clearly visible even with the dim lights in this seal space. The woman had bright red long hair and violet eyes, while the man has spiky blonde hair and ocean blue eyes. How's this possible? Why are they here? Hiruzen thought in a daze, but a voice quickly broke him out of it. It was the melancholic voice of his successor, the man that sacrificed himself and his family for the village, and the same man he betrayed the trust of and didn't follow his last wish uttered with his dying breath. Minato, Hiruzen said, feeling an unknown fear and guilt, and Minato responded, it's been a while, Hiruzen. I never thought we would meet again like this. Chapter 30, Revealing the Truth. This would have been a very happy reunion if Hiruzen didn't break his promise, and from the disappointed look on Minato's and Kushina's faces, he understood that they have a good idea of the current situation. It's been a while indeed, Minato, Kushina said. Hiruzen with his BS regretful sigh and continued. How are you still alive like this, and why didn't you contact me? What? You shameless old man, you rather want us dead? And you even want us to contact you after the way you and the village treated Naruto, replied Kushina with anger plastered on her face, while Minato kept the same disappointed look. Hiruzen sighed, feeling the guilt in his heart increasing, but he suppressed it and said, I understand your frustrations with me, but first I need to know the situation. Kushina was about to yell again, but Minato held her back and said, I sealed a small portion of chakra from Kushina and me inside of Naruto to help deal with Kurama in the future and see how Naruto grew up, even if it's only for a few moments. Yet, Bakuryo-kun helped us restore our chakra and even souls, and now we can accompany Naruto all the time. so the accusations against the Uchiha are pointless. You should be thanking him instead, if you still consider me the fourth Hokage. Hiruzen was shocked and then happy at having the fourth back, because even if he can't help in fights physically, with his ideas he can still be of great help to the village, and Kushina too with her great sealing knowledge. But then he felt disappointed in himself at how the first thing he thought of was using them, and he remembered how he listened to Danzo and the council, causing him to feel shame. After all, the situation was clear. Bakurayo gave them two perfect guardians and trainers for the Jinchuriki, and no one can manipulate him with them here. Hiruzen sighed again before he heard Minato continues saying, the Uchiha clan wasn't responsible for the incident 5 years ago either. It was a masked man, and seeing how someone was capable of destroying the special barriers we made on the birth site means someone from the higher-ups of the village helped him. Who do you think it was, Hiruzen? Impossible, don't tell me. No, he wouldn't dare. He dared, after all, he and his roots. Umbu didn't help when the attack happened. Instead they went to keep the Uchiha from helping, to make sure I have no way but to sacrifice myself. As for the barrier and the location of the birth site, you should know that they were clearly selected and they are impossible to break easily, so I'm pretty sure he leaked at least the location of the birth site. As for why he would do this, you know his intentions clearly. After all, right after he sent a team to assassinate you in your diplomatic mission with the village hidden in the sand, Suna. Hiruzen turned pale at his foolishness for letting all these go by unpunished. Leave for now. Bakurayo-kun still have more things to tell you, and bear in mind, this is your last chance to correct your mistakes. There's more. Hiruzen was shocked before he turned angry and directly left the seal. Meanwhile, outside the seal, everyone kept looking at Hiruzen's changing face, from happy to sad to regret to disappointment and finally anger, as he opened his eyes and said, the Uchiha clan is innocent and they did a huge service to the village this time. Before he started talking about his meeting with Minato and what they talked about, including the incident 5 years ago shocking everyone. Impossible, this must be a trick. Danzo said in denial. Shut up, Danzo, as of now you are under arrest. The moment Hiruzen finished saying this, a group of Umbu surrounded Danzo. Bakurayo-kun, Minato said you have something more to say, please go ahead, Hiruzen said, fearing for what's coming. Indeed I do. I am sure everyone here wonders why Danzo is so adamant on targeting our clan, even though it would have helped him better if he got close to use and gain our support to become Hokage, I said, and everyone nodded since it was weird. The reason is this, I said as I pointed at my eyes now turning red with 3 tomo inside. Everyone was shocked before Shikaku Nara, Konoha's Jonin commander, spoke. But why would he go so far just for your clan's Sharinan? And Danzo started feeling that something bad is going to happen. Good question. The answer is an ability our eyes has that's not that well known even to our clan members. This ability is called Izanagi. It allows the user to distort reality at the price of the eye turning blind and never recovering even if you replace it. So for example, you can sacrifice one eye to escape death from a fatal injury. That's why Danzo is after them, to save his worthless life when in danger, I said while watching the shock in everyone's eyes increasing. But it wasn't surprising because this ability is truly abnormal. As for Danzo, he couldn't hold back and said, absurd, all I did was for the well-being of Konoha and its PEO dash. I directly cut his BS. Really, is that why you helped Orochimaru in his human experiments while researching Hashirama's cells using people from the village as guinea pigs? It was like a bomb dropping inside the meeting room as everyone stood up and looked at Danzo with a dangerous look, including Hiruzen, who said, is this true, Danzo? Danzo knew that he was getting cornered, so he said, humph. I am not going to sit here and listen to a toddler lecturing me, as he tried to leave, but Fugaku stepped on his way and said, you won't be leaving today. What's the meaning of this, Fugaku? Are you rebelling against the village? Danzo said in anger, but he was ignored, and I said with a smile, everyone, I have proof of what I said. Danzo, unveil your right eye and hand to everyone. I am sure you can do such a simple thing to prove your innocence. Right. I gestured to Hayashi secretly. Indeed, Danzo. Please prove your innocence so we can put our hearts to peace, Hayashi said. The people present were surprised at the Hyuga helping the Uchiha, but they thought that it was because they also have eyes people covet. Many people announced their support after this, ending with the angry Hiruzen saying, Danzo, unveil your right eye and hand right now. Throughout all this, Danzo was unresponsive and a weird calm lingered around him, the calm before the storm, because he suddenly said attack. as many root members attacked everyone present while he himself exhaled some air and launched a compressed air blade right at me before he tried to escape. He sent this air blade to distract Fugaku and force him to defend me, but to his surprise, Fugaku decided to ignore the attack rushing towards the kid and he directly attacked Danzo.